Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Rachel Ray and today I am joined by a special and very, very well missed guest, James.
Hi, everybody.
Hi James, we missed you.
Thanks, baby. Yeah.
This is for all of James's fans.
Uh-huh.
Woo. Today we are going to be working on Diamond Art Club's mystery kit called Christmas House. So if you do not want to be spoiled, please look away from the screen. You're not going to have to look at the screen at any point during this video.
That's correct.
So you can scroll down on your computer or you can turn your phone over, whatever you want to do if you don't want to be spoiled. Otherwise, you're going to see immediately that some of this section has already been worked up. And I don't want to ruin it for you. I don't want to be that person, okay? So look away. Or look, depending on who you are. Okay, starting now. Ah.
Oh my God, look at that.
God. Wow, jeez,
Wow,
look at that.
Yowza.
There's so much to look at.
Woof.
Hello, James.
Hi, how's it going?
It's been so long.
It has been quite some time, yeah. Yeah.
I think the last time that we filmed an episode... Okay, so I just looked up our last episode and wow. April 5th. It was your birthday.
Oh my God, April 5th is my birthday.
Yes.
Are
That's
you
when it was
serious?
released.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's been a really long time. No wonder everyone's been bugging me to get
It
your
has been a long time, yeah, geez.
It's August.
I didn't realize it was that long.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So, what are we talking about today?
Um.
Well, I mean, don't tell me right off the bat, but
Yeah,
you know,
yeah, obviously.
we have a method.
Maintain some drama here, like. I thought we could talk about like paleontologists, and exploration, and that sort of thing.
I'm all about that. Let's go.
Yeah. So I want to start.
Before you get started,
Yeah.
two things. All the links for everything are down below. This is not like a how to diamond paint video. If you want to watch one of those, I have a whole playlist on that. This is just the kind of video, because I know there's a lot of new people here and they're not going to know what this is. This is a video where my husband joins me and he tells us some weird and wacky, you know what, stuff.
Stuff that I found on the internet, yeah.
That we found on the internet.
Yeah.
Well, that he found on the internet. And then he tells me, I have no clue what's going to happen. It's just for entertainment purposes only. There's a whole playlist. I ask you, I beg of you, please go back and watch it. It is hilarious. I love watching these videos back. They make me laugh so hard. So with that being said, that little disclaimer, please continue.
Yeah, and I suppose if you're new to this as well, like you'll probably understand how meticulously researched these.
The notes are impeccable. Just
Oh,
chef's kiss.
stop! I mean, you could hand them to anyone.
I don't know why you
They
haven't
would
gotten...
be well versed in that subject.
Why haven't you gotten your master's degree in zoomorphology yet?
I don't know. Like, yeah, I suppose I'm too busy creating this very interesting note taking process.
Oh, yes,
I'm
yes,
involved
yes.
in. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
It's definitely not a LibreOffice file with loads of stuff I copied and pasted from the internet.
No, but you should probably patent it, like.
And it turns out that there's no salient points because earlier on, because I did all the research for this about a month ago, when we said, "Oh yeah, let's do one of those." And then I read loads of stuff, and I was like, "Oh wow, this is really interesting." And I was taking notes, and then I noticed that I forgot to actually take, because I was like, "Oh, what was the name of that dude again?" I totally forgot it. But anyway, let's start talking about it, and we'll see where we
Set
get.
the scene.
Yeah. So anyway, it's 1884, right? Mm-hmm. Wisconsin.
Cheese country.
What do you picture? 1884, Wisconsin.
Prairie?
I guess. I mean, I don't really know. I don't know where I'm going with this. Even.
Wisconsin is near that other M1.
Is it east
Michigan.
of Michigan? Is it east of Michigan?
West.
Oh,
The glove.
Oh my God! I keep doing that. I keep doing that with America.
Keep mixing up.
Yeah, because
East and West.
you're from the east coast of America.
That's right.
But where I come from, all the cool people are on the west coast. So I keep thinking that Virginia is on the west coast of
No,
America.
we all know that the cool people are from the East Coast.
that's not true in Ireland. All the cool people in Ireland are from the West Coast. Don't make me throw
I
up.
won't do it. I won't do it.
Start throwing up gang signs at you. West Coast till I die, yo.
East Coast represent.
Yeah, so there's this guy Roy Chapman Andrews.
Roy Chapman Anders.
Yeah, and he's born in 1884 in a place called Beloit. Hang on, let me actually.
Beloit. Oh, pronunciation may be off a little bit. Just
Bloit, and apparently they called it after Detroit. So I think it might be Beloit.
Okay.
Beloit, Wisconsin. Do you know who else was born in Beloit, Wisconsin?
Nope.
Betty Everett.
Really?
Yeah. Huh. Do you know who I'm talking about?
Is that someone that we've talked about before here?
It's not someone we've talked about before here.
It sounds very familiar.
But Betty was a woman with questions. She had this guy, right? Mm-hmm. And she didn't...
What do you mean she had a guy?
Like, she was seeing this guy, right?
All right.
And she was thinking, does he love me? I want to know. How can I tell if he loves me so?
It's it in his eyes.
Oh no, it's just a thing.
You're not listening to what I say. Okay, they're not here for my scene.
I actually have the lyrics in my thing and it's, oh no, you'll be deceived. It's in his eyes. Anyway.
Of course.
I want to ruin the flow, you know. Yeah, so Betty is also from Beloit.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest with you. It's going to be hard for anyone to beat that. Right, so let's get back on track anyway. So Roy is born in Beloit, right? Mm. And, you know, he lives like this kind of like rural kind of childhood, you know. He's down messing around the rivers. He's up in the woods. He's hunting from a very young age, like improving his marksmanship and all this kind of thing, you know? Mm-hmm. Like a real kind of like rural living kid in Wisconsin in the 1880s, you know, in 1890s.
Yeah.
He teaches himself taxidermy.
Oh.
At a young age, teaches himself taxidermy.
Fun.
And he starts plying the trade of a taxidermist. In his like I can't find any kind of concrete stuff on this, but I didn't dig too deep either. But I reckon he was probably about 14 or 15, and I like to picture him sending away to like, you know, boys learn taxidermy, you know, in like the Boy Scout magazine or something like that. So he learns taxidermy and he starts doing taxidermy professionally in his early teens, and he's a really smart kid, you know, and he uses the money that he makes from taxidermy to put himself into Beloit College.
Wow.
And Beloit College,
it's probably like $5 back then.
I'm just starting to remember now all these rabbit holes I went down. At one point I was reading about Beloit College. It's actually the oldest collegiate academic building in Wisconsin that's still in use.
Did you go down the taxidermy rabbit hole?
I didn't go down the taxidermy rabbit hole, no. All right.
Sorry.
Get stuff, right? I didn't go down the taxidermy.
Oh, there's some terrible taxidermy out there. Terrible in a good way. I mean, it's just awful.
When I was in, this reminded me of something when I was one of the first like video performance pieces I saw back in the 90s when I was in art college. Was this person that had sent away for a taxidermy book and read the taxidermy book and then bought like
all the stuff,
bought chickens and stuff like that and tried to taxidermy the chickens, and it was just a video of them attempting to taxidermy the chicken. This was in 1990.
Was this in art college? Did they do that for a project?
Yeah. But this was a successful artist, like.
Oh my dear.
And she had because she had just shown in like somewhere in Europe, I think, but
oh yeah, Europeans.
Yeah. But it was an interesting video piece. This was before YouTube, when videos like that had the ability to shock. Do you know what I mean? Like, you could literally go on YouTube and find, like, back then it was art.
Yeah.
Now it's instructional. You know what I mean?
Welcome to YouTube.
Yeah. So Roy really wants to make a career for himself in naturalism, you know?
Okay.
So he gets out of Beloit College. I think he might have been in like 21 or 22.
Somewhere around that age?
I think so. Like I said, I didn't like go historically researching this, you know what I mean? But he goes to New York and he tries to get a job in the Natural History Museum.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't have a job for him. They're like, but all you've got is a GED and like
squirrels,
a biology thing from Beloit University.
Lots of chickens.
Beloit College, which I don't think was quite, you know, I don't think it was like, I don't know if it was, education was as formalized, you know, where you can get certain levels and things. So they were like, oh, well, that stuff might play in Wisconsin, but it doesn't play in New York City, my boy. You know, that kind of is the impression I got, like, you know?
Okay.
Because it is a college, but then I don't know what they mean when they say college. But either way, the people at the Natural History Museum tell this young Mr. Andrews,
whippersnapper,
yeah, that, you know, you can't, you know, you don't have the qualifications to work as a naturalist. So he ends up in the taxidermy department, but not even doing taxidermy.
What?
He's sweeping the floor of the taxidermy department.
Oh, is this going to be a Bootstraps story?
Yeah, you know, I think...
Or
like
he
everyone
just
all of the stories in the 19th century are bootstrap stories, aren't they? I mean, that's when bootstraps existed, like, you know.
Lies.
I mean, I know you told me not to get photos, but there's some great photos of this dude, like, you know what I mean? And it's like...
We'll stick them at the end, will we?
I mean, I didn't actually save them because you...
Okay, well, don't promise things, like...
Well, you can, I mean, like, I can give you a few photos of them, no problem. Like,
but I'm not going to put them on the video because I don't want to ruin it for people.
Oh, the flow, of course, yeah. So anyway, he gets there and he's sweeping up the taxidermy department, you know? And he goes to Columbia University.
What would be on the floor in a taxidermy department?
Fur. Like...
Just fur?
Loads of fur, wax, sawdust, glass eyeballs. You gotta pick the glass eyeballs out and put them to the side. Some of those eyeballs can be small.
Yeah.
Like snake eyeballs.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Rat eyeballs.
Rat eyeballs, any of those, like, yeah.
I imagine lots of newspaper as well.
Yeah. So he puts himself, anyway, into Columbia University and he goes studying mammalogy. Am I right?
Mammalogy.
The study of mammals, right?
Mammalogy.
Mammalogy.
Something like that.
I'm pretty sure that's what it is. Hang on, I have it. I wrote it down. Hang on.
Mammalian
I can't
studies.
believe you're making me check this thing.
Mammalogy.
Yeah, mammalogy at Columbia
goodness.
University, a Master's of Arts degree. He puts himself through that, right?
Right.
And then in 1908, and he's building up his career. He's sweeping taxidermy things, and he's making, like, rubbing shoulders with naturalists and people like that from the natural history.
Kicking the feet.
Yeah, he's in the right orbit, you know?
Okay.
And then in 1908, he joins the Explorers Club in New York, which I think is something like, you know what National Geographic used to be before it was Nat Geo?
Yeah.
You know, less about ancient aliens and more about actually raising money from philanthropists to fund people to go and look at things, you know?
Yeah.
You know...
that was the job I wanted.
To be a National Geographic person.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, you didn't know that?
No, I mean,
got a minor in anthropology.
Oh, I remember.
I was gonna do a major, but then
yeah.
Then I realized that it probably wouldn't get me anywhere. No offense to anybody that's an archaeologist.
Yeah.
National Geographic is more of a journalism thing.
Yeah, but back
less of an archaeology thing.
But I guess the point I'm making is that, like, back at the dawn of the 20th century, they genuinely were funding people, like,
totally.
raising money off of rich donators to fund people to go and look at things, you know?
Right.
Or photograph them or record them or do science or whatever. There was bursaries and what have you.
Exactly.
So this dude anyway joins this Explorers Club, and it's more or less kind of the same, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And he starts to build his career, and then from 1909 to 1910, he's on board this ship called the Albatross. And it's sailing all around the East Indies, which is the Caribbean, you know.
Do you have a 1908 sea shanty for us?
I don't know if sea shanties are earlier than 1908. They were probably still sung at that time, Jonah.
No, that's fine.
I can't. I'm not doing one unaccompanied. I need my shipmates. All the boys in the forecastle. Woo. Anyway, so from between 1909 and 1910, he's on board the Albatross. He's down around the Caribbean, and he collects loads of snakes and lizards. You know, and then he comes back to, you know, some would claim like he's making his bones. You know what I mean? Like he's
making his bones, and he's also lining the bones.
Literally gathering bones and having beetles eat them, and then he's mounting the bones. And every time he does it, he's like, "Man, I used to be about stuffing animals. Now I'm about, where's it all gone wrong?" So in 1913.
Okay, whew, I thought we'd stop recording.
No. In 1913. Oh, right. No. I jumped 3 years. He took some time out to think about himself, like.
Oh yes,
spend
of
some
course.
time with himself. In 1913, he sailed aboard this schooner called the Adventurous.
Okay.
Which
Cosmo.
Which is a female adventurer rather than I'm adventurous. You know what I mean? I don't know if that came across with my accent.
Adventuress.
Yeah, exactly. And they're down around the whatchamacallit, the Arctic, right? And they're trying to get this bowhead whale specimen, and this goes on for ages. Like for a year, he's down there and he's sailing the icy waters of the Arctic, and they're trying to capture a bowhead whale for the museum.
Bowhead?
Yeah, do you know the bowhead whales?
No.
They've got like a big
bow-shaped head.
Yeah, you know the whale thing where it's like a huge bit on top and there's a mouth coming out the bottom? Do you know what I mean? Like the way they've got a tiny jaw at the bottom and a big head.
Oh.
Do you know the mouth's at the bottom opening like that?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Bowhead whales are my understanding is that they're kind of the opposite. Like they're filtered, they take on huge
like a humpback.
Like a humpback, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, or like that, yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway,
right.
I could be wrong about that as well. I'm not a whale guy. Actually, I'm so not a whale guy.
I bet Roy was.
I claimed I was a whale guy once, and this police officer came up and gave me a citation.
Citation?
What's the word for whale family? Sages.
Oh,
yeah. You have to write me a citation.
Oh no. Okay.
That's a really bad pun.
That's a really bad. That was reaching.
It's really bad. So he sails on board that, and at this stage now he's been at this for 5 or 6 years.
Yes,
you know?
Roy is a seasoned
naturalistic adventurer. You know, he's in the Caribbean. He's sailing around the Arctic. He's looking at things. You know.
Yeah.
He marries this lady as well, Yvette Borup.
Oh, okay.
And she's a photographer and also a kind of naturalist and an adventurer, you know? Mm-hmm. And the two of them together, they organise these things called the Asiatic Zoological Expeditions. Mm-hmm. And they're sponsored by the Natural History Museum in New York.
Oh, nice.
And the crack is that they will go to different parts of Asia, and they'll do an expedition and they'll gather up like unknown species and stuff. Unknown here is unknown to people in the West.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
Clearly.
Obviously, people that live in their neighborhood know exactly what they are, you know? So the first one goes to China, Tibet, and Burma. Mm-hmm. Burma is the current name of it, actually. I was going to correct myself. And then the second one is in 1918, and that goes to Mongolia and North China.
Excuse me for a moment. I have a needy dog climbing all over me. I'll be right back.
So, yeah, and then it's really in Mongolia where he kind of finds his real kind of like what's going to make him famous and his passion and all that, you know?
Did he study Mongolian throat singing?
No, he didn't. No, unfortunately, no. He returns to China in 1920.
Hmm.
And he brings a fleet of Dodge cars.
Dodge car.
Yeah, and it's like he brings them over to China, and he sets off in this like train of Dodge cars across the like Chinese landscape and into Mongolia, you know, and he starts like checking around in Mongolia there, you know.
Okay.
And then it's here that he discovers what kind of makes his name in naturalism.
Mm-hmm.
He discovers the first nest of dinosaur eggs.
Oh, it's that guy.
Yeah, he discovers like the first fossilized dinosaur eggs.
Yeah, they were Triceratops.
They actually weren't Triceratops. He had excavated a Triceratops previously, and he discovered the eggs, and they're in these sets of two. And there's this raptor called an oviraptor.
Oh.
Because they think it feeds on eggs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and when he wrote it up, he was like, "Oh, this is an oviraptor in a nest of Triceratops eggs," because he had excavated Triceratops in the region. Not even a Triceratops, but like an early one before they had grown all the ornate horns and stuff, you know?
Okay.
I neglected to write it down in my...
There are actually many different types.
There's quite a few, yeah. And he...
Topsians.
Indeed, yes. Well, this is not the place for taxonomic arguments. But he discovers this oviraptor, you know?
Yeah.
And it's actually quite a bit later that they realize that the oviraptor died in its own nest of eggs. Because these are actually oviraptor eggs.
Okay.
And they don't know if, like, it was called an oviraptor because they assumed it had bought the farm while it was trying to poach these eggs, so to speak. Thank you. Anyway, that's terrible.
Dear.
That's really awful.
Sorry about all the dog stuff as well.
And do you know the reason they found it out was that the eggs were laid in twos, you know?
Okay.
Like in a line of twos. And then they found this oviraptor that had died while pregnant with eggs. And it turns out that they were one of this particular type of dinosaur where they formed the eggs inside themselves to a very high degree and then laid them in sets of two.
Birds.
So yeah, so they were laying eggs, but they were also holding on to them internally for safety till they were quite well developed and then laying them, you know?
Like a marsupial bird.
Yeah, and so anyway, he discovers this, and at the time he thought they were coprolites, you know, like fossilized feces.
Ew.
But anyway, turns out they're these eggs. I went down a huge rabbit hole that I didn't take any notes on. There's like, you can look at the surface of the egg and there'll be the way the pores are arranged and the joints between the pores and the inside of the egg, and oh man, it gets complicated. Like, and eggs are a lot different shaped than you would imagine, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're not necessarily egg shaped. They can be really long, like almost like cigar shaped or something, you know?
Yeah.
That kind of way, like. But anyway, there we are with the eggs. And then he comes back and he writes this book. Oh, I forgot to mention this bit as well. At the time, in the 1920s, there was this thing, like theory in science that was growing in popularity, and it was the out of Asia theory. And it was basically what you're thinking of. You know, instead of out of Africa, that all of humankind came out of Africa, then maybe they originated in Asia. Because at the time, they didn't have any early hominid kind of, what are you trying to say, remains, you know?
Okay.
From Africa. But they had a load, like this French guy in the 1890s, which I wish I'd written his name down, had excavated this thing called the Java Man, you know, on Java.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what that place is called now. Ceylon, maybe. Anyway. And then another guy up around Peking, I'm not sure what that place is called now, had excavated a different human like early hominid fossil and stuff, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And that was like in the early 20th century. And this guy Chapman, because he'd studied mammalogy, you know,
Mm-hmm.
was big in the mammal world. And he returned there when he discovered the eggs, and before that what he was looking for was these remains, these early hominid remains, to
Okay.
kind of prove that all of humanity had come out of Asia, that Asia had been the cradle of humanity, if you will, rather than Africa, you know?
Okay.
Big theory at the time in the 1920s. So his first book, he published it in 1922,
Mm-hmm.
and it's called On the Trail of Ancient Man. Yeah?
Okay.
And in it, this is where we come to the meat and potatoes of what we're talking about today.
Okay.
He said that he spoke with the Mongolian Prime Minister
Mm-hmm.
at the time in 1922, and his name was Dam Bin Bazar,
Okay.
I hope. And he said that he described an unusual creature that people in western parts of Mongolia... Hang on. Yes, the western parts of Mongolia, the coolest part of Mongolia, had described. And they said that it was shaped like a sausage, about 2 feet long, had no head or legs, and was so poisonous that merely to touch it meant instant death.
Ooh.
It lives in the most desolate parts of the Gobi Desert.
Ooh.
What do you think we're talking about?
Dune.
Huh?
Dune.
Mongolia, right?
Yes.
And it's shaped like a sausage, about 2 feet long, no head nor legs.
And it's not an egg.
No, it's poisonous to touch.
Well, then it's gotta be just one thing then.
What's that?
The Mongolian death worm.
It is the Mongolian death worm.
Dun, dun, dun.
Originally, I thought I should because I'd forgotten. Like when I was writing the notes, I was like, okay, I should ask you to describe a Mongolian death worm if I said that to you, because I mean that's not how you would describe it, is it? Like it's 2 feet long.
Nah.
Like that's not a.
That's just a really big
that's not a
worm.
death worm. That's just a big worm. Yeah. So he's the first guy to write down about this Mongolian death worm.
Or a snake? A desert snake?
You are already ahead of the game.
Oh.
Yeah, so he's the first one to write down about this Mongolian death worm, you know?
Okay.
And then I'm actually I think I'm going to talk about the next guy as well, and we'll bring it back, you know? Like, there's this other guy then, right? Ivan Antanovich.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah? So, Ivan, son of Anton, you know? And he's born just outside of St. Petersburg in 1908.
Okay.
Yeah? And when he's about 10 or 11 years, well, when he's about 8 or 9 years old, what's happening in Russia at that time?
That was around the time that they, killed the Tsar, right?
It's correct. Yes, the Bolshevik Revolution happens.
Yeah.
And his mother, his parents divorce during the revolution, and his mother marries a commander from the Red Army, which is the Bolsheviks, yeah?
Yeah.
So she marries him, and he's off commanding armies. So then she does what any reasonable mother would do. She leaves her son with... Let me just check my notes. She leaves her son with... Oh my god. With her sister.
Right? Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah, so she leaves her son with her sister, and then shortly after she leaves, because the new husband is off fighting the revolution, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Shortly after she leaves, the aunt dies of typhus.
Ugh.
So he's on his Todd in St. Petersburg.
What is on his Todd?
On his own, he's on
Oh,
his
yeah.
own. And he's about 11 or 12 years old. Yeah?
Yeah.
Well, he's about 9 or 10 years old. And then he becomes a son of the regiment. Like, he literally goes to the
a child of war.
I don't know what... I think what it was that, he would have basically rocked up to the Red Army camp. Or someone that knows him would have rocked up and been like, you see this kid right here? Yeah, well, his dad's in the army, and I only got enough potatoes for me, so I kind of picture that's what's going to happen. That's what happened, I mean, these are tough times. Like, these are tough men. Can you imagine someone now, like, learning taxidermy off YouTube and making a career out of it in their teens? Do you know what I mean? Like,
Well,
actually, I can imagine that. That is actually easy to imagine.
Yeah,
What am I thinking of? But imagine if it wasn't YouTube and you had to write away to the back of a magazine and learn how to taxidermy.
right to the back of a magazine.
I presume that's how he learned how to taxidermy.
I guess, yeah. Here's a nickel.
So Ivan Antanovich, anyway, joins, like, he's a son of the regiment, and he's basically being supported by them, and I guess he's doing odd jobs around the base and all this kind of thing, the barracks,
Yeah.
I guess. And then the army, the Red Army, pays for him to go to university, and he goes to school and he ends up studying, and then in 1921, when he comes of age, like, I guess, 1921, that would make him 13 or 14 years old.
Wow.
He gets out, like, they're basically, right, buddy, you're on your Todd again. 14's old enough to look after yourself. And he basically goes to uni,
Okay.
And he studies, he's like, he's the ultimate bootstrapper dude, this fella now. Like, he's like working all these different jobs,
Yeah.
and studying at university at the same time. And then he's using the education he's getting at university to get ever increasingly better jobs,
Yeah.
like the ultimate in bootstrapper, really, to be honest,
Mm-hmm.
And he completes his education, and at that stage then he's, because of, I guess, the environment that he grew up in like a Red Army barracks and stuff like that, like, he loves the revolution,
Yeah.
and he actually says, like, that the revolution wasn't just liberation for the people of Russia, but it was his own liberation from a lifetime of Philistinism,
Huh.
that it made him educated and stuff like that.
I guess that's one way to look at it.
Yeah, and he goes on then, this guy Ivan Antanovich, he goes on then to study natural history and stuff like this, and he also visits Mongolia.
Interesting.
Yeah, and then he comes up with a thing called, I hope I wrote this down. No, I did not.
Of course.
Give me one moment.
He found a
Oh
thing.
my god. He founded a thing called taphonomy.
Taphonomy.
And taphonomy is the study of how something goes from being a biological entity to a fossil.
Ah, right.
Do you know?
Right.
Like, how does that happen? How is it a living, breathing reptile or mammal or fish? And then it's stone, it's imprinted in stone,
It gets squished.
Yeah, and they call him like the father of taphonomy. And it's one of the most important branches of paleontology because, you can, like, he kind of...
The one we can see.
Yeah, and he pioneered and, like, standardized stuff like, where is this fossil placed in the geological record? What was happening at that time to create these rocks that it's in? You know what I mean?
All that kind of stuff.
Yeah, all this kind of stuff. So he's like widely... So he's huge. So this is two dudes, right?
Two dudes.
Right.
Totally different backgrounds.
Yeah. One from America, one from Russia.
Yeah.
And they're both huge in paleontology. Like, huge names in paleontology.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then Ivan is also... Like, he also writes books, But he writes, like, kind of like... He writes scientific papers the same as Chapman. But he also writes, like, sci-fi books and stuff like that, And he wrote, like, one book about his, like, a fictionalized account of his journey to Mongolia, in the 40s and all this. And then, let me see if I'm going to look this up. In 1957, then, he wrote this, like, Andromeda Nebula, which is, like, a hard sci-fi book about how... thousands of years in the future, humans are zipping around the galaxy living in a communist utopia. He also wrote... But anyway, hang on. Switch back to my
Only
other
they
notes.
knew about the iPhone.
Oh man, the notes are coming on fast and furious here now. I'll tell you. He also wrote a book. I didn't write it down. He wrote another book, right? And this book was after he read Chapman's book before he travelled to Mongolia for the second time.
Okay.
And he read about his accounts of the Mongolian death worm.
Naturally.
And then he wrote a sci-fi novel or a sci-fi short story about the Mongolian death worm.
Oh.
And do you remember do you remember the other guy's description? Like, oh, it's about 2 feet long, it's poisonous, you don't want to touch it.
It's a danger sausage.
Yeah, this guy, Ivan Antanovich, adds different things to it then. Like in his version of the story, it's red, and it can travel under the sand and it's scary and stuff like that, I suppose another thing that I didn't point out about the Mongolian death worm is that there's a Mongolian death worm season.
Oh.
Like it's the warm season.
Is it? Oh yeah, it's not always warm.
Yeah, because I don't know if you know about the Gobi Desert. It's one of these deserts where it's not hot beating sun. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, it's proper hot during the winter or during the summer, but during the winter it's proper cold, and you can get snow there, and so it's not just this like blistering hot at night during the day, and quite cold at night. Like it can swing to quite extremes. And the Mongolian death worm is normally seen during the warmer months of the year. According to them. Yeah?
Yeah.
So that's Ivan Antanovich's take on it, yeah? Mm-hmm. There's another guy from the Czech Republic then.
Oh.
And his name is Ivan Makarel. I'm going to go with Makarel. Yeah?
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and he's a Czech cryptozoologist. And
they even have that title? I mean,
there's
I suppose we could do that in
I know what you mean, Rachel, but
posthumously
look at I don't want to be a snob. I'm glad that we formalized it in zoomorphology, but cryptozoologists were there, like the way that alchemists led to chemistry. You know what I mean? Like someone's got to be out there on the cutting edge of the vanguard.
Totally.
So Ivan, anyway, Makarel is a cryptozoologist from Czech Republic.
Okay.
And he did a number of different trips out to Mongolia. And in 1987, he wrote a book called The Mongolian Mystery.
In 1987?
Yeah, in 1987. In 1991, the TV producers in Czech Republic paid for him to go out, and he did a whole documentary and stuff.
No way!
He's been out there loads of time, Makarel.
Oh, I want to see this now.
Yeah, and I looked it up, and there's no English translations of him. But it's comforting to know that wherever you go, a cryptozoologist presents visually in a very similar way.
And they're not all funded by Nat Geo.
No, but it's in the way that you're used to seeing them. You know what I mean? He's got like one of those, a vest with the tactical pockets on it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
In green, and kind of disheveled hair. He's like wherever you go. Pick a nationality, they all look the same, man. That's the cryptozoologist look.
Uniform, yeah.
Yeah. And he then adds a lot of pretty cool touches to it. Like it travels underground and it has a kind of bow wave on it, like in Dune.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it can kill you by electrical charge.
Oh.
Yeah. Ivan Antanovich, I think, added the red color and that it can spit venom at you. And he's now added an electrical charge, so it travels under the ground and it does you by electrical charge.
Yeah.
And his description then of it, I quote directly: a sausage-like worm over 0.5 meter (20 inches) long, thick as a man's arm, resembling the intestine of cattle. Its tail is short, and as if it were cut off and not tapered, It is difficult to tell the head from the tail. It has no visible eyes, nostril, or mouth. Its color is dark red, like blood. Or salami.
I guess you haven't seen blood before.
So that's the crack. He kind of adds a little bit more excitement to it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, those are real visual things. Like, when it, you can see it. Like,
salami monster.
Yeah, I actually decided to do the Mongolian debt worm because it was Sunday about 6 weeks ago, and you were saying I should do a Theory Tuesday, and I was like, I don't know. And then I turned on the TV and a rerun of Tremors was on. And I was like, oh, Mongolian
inspired.
Debt worm. I see. So he's kind of added, for want of a better word, he's added a lot of the sex appeal to it, I think.
Yeah.
And I think that's more or less about it. I didn't want to try but if I have it written down here, I'll try it.
Try what?
What they call, like, it literally the name that the Mongolian people that told these guys these stories have for it is like the Ogori Kurikai or something like that. It sounds like something out of, but it's, do you know, like, Chapman says, oh well, hang on, from his 1922 book, I have the quotes written down, so I'm gonna lean on that. Blah blah blah. It's reported to live in the most arid, sandy regions of the western Gobi Desert. And let's see, none of those present had ever seen the creature in person, but they firmly believed in its existence and described it minutely. And then he goes back in 1932, Andrews, and he writes another book, which kind of stinks of colonialism, really, but it's called The New Conquest of Central Asia.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and he talks somewhat in it about comments he'd made, but he seems to be saying, oh, I was kind of, I was just recording things people said, but he kind of more or less said in that he didn't believe a word of it and it was all rubbish, And that's it. I mean, when do you want to hear some explanations of what people think it is, or what do you think it is?
I mean, I just think it's a danger noodle.
It is a danger noodle, yeah.
There is a snake that lives in the desert.
Yes.
There are many snakes that live in the desert.
There are.
But there are snakes that live in the sand in the desert.
There are.
They are short, and they do have a flat face.
Yes.
And their tail isn't long and pretty.
You seem to be one step ahead of all of this. Yes.
But the only reason I know that is because it was either Nat Geo or David Attenborough.
Yeah, it is a snake called the Tartar Sand Boa. It's a member of the Boa family, and it is the Eryx miliarius. Miliarius?
Yeah.
Miliarius. Yeah, Eryx miliarius. And it is, it's exactly that. And they have that, they have that quality. If you look up photos of them, you'd be like, oh, it is hard to tell where the head is or where the snake is. And there's this one member of the Sand Boa family, like the Saudi Arabian Sand Boa. And if you look them up, they look like a child's drawing of a snake. Yeah. I'm not even joking. Like, Google Saudi Arabian sand. I can't even look. My notes are so bad from weeks ago. Like, but I'm pretty sure it's the Saudi Arabian or the Arabian sand boa. Look it up. It looks like a child drew it. What did you see in your nightmare? Here, look, it was this. But they're that, and then they have this quality where a mature female will be 4 feet long, but a male will be a maximum of 2, more typically 1 to 1.5 feet long.
Seems to be the case in all the animal kingdom.
What's that supposed to mean?
All right. Worked up, man.
I'm 4'2".
You're not what? You're not 4'2".
In height, I am at least 4'3", probably.
Oh my goodness.
The other thing about the sand boas, which I thought was quite interesting, was that one of the few members of the snake family, or in reptiles you can have them give birth to young, or give birth to lay eggs, or give birth to live young.
Yes.
Yeah, and let me just.
Yeah. What happens? What happens to the death worm?
What do you mean?
Do they give birth to live young or to eggs?
I think because these guys, Irex Meliarius, right, are in Iran, Pakistan, Afghanistan, Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, and southern Russia, and northwestern China. They are literally the countries that border the Gobi Desert, the western Gobi Desert in Mongolia. Do you know what I mean? I can't remember. I was looking at a map before. Turkmenistan, anyway, has a border right there, and I believe Uzbekistan as well. You know, so there's no reason that this snake wouldn't be in there. One of the things it does as well is that it hides itself under the sand, because it's a cold-blooded animal. It's hard for it to regulate temperature.
Right.
You know, and then they'll do that thing that snakes in colder climates do during the winter months, where they literally just hibernate. You know.
Yeah.
Like one of they're ambush predators as well, so they just find a likely spot, dig a hole, it's really cool. You can see videos of them sinking themselves into the sand, and they just basically
disappear.
Yeah, they just put on the shoop shoop song, and they like shimmy into the sand, you know, and so they're one of those low energy predators, where they just sit there and they ambush something.
Yeah. So, okay, so I didn't mean to steal the thunder there, but, what did other people think it was?
It's the same as a lot of the cryptid things. It seems like people are just making bank out of it. I mean, the History Channel sent, a load of people over to look at it there a while ago. They got some few hours or a mini-series out of it or something, I don't know. I mean, it just seems like such an unlikely... I mean, if you told me, it turns out that the Tartar Sand Boa, is resident to the western Gobi Desert, where almost no one lives, and is an ideal, habitat for them, I'd be like, okay, that makes sense. But if you tell me, there's a type of land electric eel that spits venom, do you know what I mean? It's like the.
What do you mean you don't believe?
Well, you need for electricity to be a practical solution for you, and not just
I mean, are there animals that can conduct electricity?
There sure are. Yeah, like electrical eels, for instance.
Right.
And there's loads of animals that use it for senses, like catfish, and loads of different types of shark family use electrical impulses, like electrical fields to judge where things are. Particularly all those river,
did that.
Yeah, river catfish and stuff, because they're in very murky waters.
Oh.
And they pick up the piezoelectrical charges off of the bodies of other.
The what now?
Piezoelectrical, tiny little electrical charges. So that's unlikely in the first place anyway. Spitting venom at people, sure. There's animals that do that,
Yeah.
And I guess, they're not huge either, at a foot or two. If they're the size of, the sandworms in Dune or whatever.
Well, that's what I was imagining.
You're going to have to be eating, herds of cows, just to maintain,
there are a lot of goats around the desert.
Really?
So, right? And sheep.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah, sure.
Historically. Maybe not today. Today it's all oil fields or whatever.
Yeah. I think you're right.
Good night, James.
What? Was there anything else about the Mongolian deathworm that I wanted to talk about then? I don't think so. There was a lot of kind of action about it, but it's just one of those things,
Well, I think that it's pretty cool. The history behind it, the lads, and...
Yeah, Yeah.
It's a different time. You could just travel for work
Yeah.
and get paid to talk to people. We're going to ignore the colonialism part of it.
Yeah, of course we'll
At the
ignore
moment.
colonialism, but
Obviously.
I don't know if they had much. I don't know if it was a whole pile of crack and stuff. Like your man Chapman Andrews was. There was like a rumor that he was the guy that Indiana Jones was based on. And you can see photos of him. There is a photo of him where he's like wearing the hat, you know?
The hat.
Yeah, but the hat from like
Raiders?
not yeah, but no, you know the one where the hat's been really badly beaten up and it's lost a bit of its shape and stuff. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's wearing that. He's wearing that like, and all that kind of thing. But then there was, I mean, I think he may have just been based on people that were based on him that were in comic books and stuff. Because he really, your man Chapman Andrews really played up to. He really played up to the cameras and stuff, you know, like he loved the fame.
Right.
You know, that kind of way.
Of course.
He
liked the notoriety and stuff. I mean, he started in working, sweeping floors, like. So
yeah.
Of course he wanted that, like.
Yeah, and he was out there, you know, in the desert.
Looking at Triceratop. Boop.
Yeah. I forgot to say as well that one of the things I read about was your man, Ivan Markel, when he went to the desert the second time in 1992, he brought a homemade thumper, like from the David Lynch Dune movie.
Really?
Yeah, where you like put it on the ground.
Yeah,
it's like,
and it thumps.
Thump,
yeah.
thump.
Wow.
I thought that was funny.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, darling, thank you so much for sharing with us today.
Yeah, no problem, yeah.
Is there anything else you'd like to tell your fans before we leave?
Not really, no. I wish I'd spent less time between me reading all this stuff and then having to try and explain it to you.
Well, that's life, isn't it?
That's life, I guess, yeah. I don't know, like, I suppose that's it. I'll try and do them more regularly or whatever, should I?
If you can.
Yeah.
If you can. I know it's busy. We did get a lot of work done today as well. So thank you for...
Yeah, it's just a busy time in the summer. There's a lot of stuff to do in the garden and
There
stuff.
is a lot going on.
Yeah, so...
And lots of people to see.
Yeah.
So we'll probably be back to this regularly enough in the winter.
Yeah, yeah. I might get that...
The nights are long.
I was saying to you I might get that...
Full of death worms.
The night is long and full of death worms. Yeah, I was saying I might get that Skinwalkers at the Pentagon thing.
Oh yes, coming soon.
The second part of the Skinwalkers or the Hunt for the Skinwalker. Colin Kelleher and George Knapp.
Skinwalkers at the Pentagon.
Skinwalkers at the Pentagon, yeah.
You're gonna read the book a bit and then come to us as like a kind of a, almost like a reading circle or something.
Yeah, I think if I read a chapter or two of it, and then we could go and talk to it, because like, do you know, I'd definitely be more interested in UFO stuff than cryptid stuff, you know,
Sure.
And like, I think all of the stuff I started paying attention again in 2017, like when this New York Times thing came out, and I guess the narrative is very different. And Skinwalker Ranch, funnily enough, is becoming a bigger and bigger part of the whole thing, and I just thought, you know, it would be an easy way for me to structure it.
Sure. Well, that sounds good. I'm sure that everybody would appreciate hearing those stories and passing the time with you.
Sure.
So thank you very much for your expert notes.
Yeah, it was some excellent research. I will be sending that to the university, and they will archive it as always. I'm trying to see if there's anything else in my thing. In my notes that I forgot to say.
It's a little late now, darling.
Yeah. I translated all the Czech stuff. I spent ages translating the titles of this guy, Ivan Markarel's books, from Czech to English. Took me ages. And his 1987 book is Mongolian Mystery. in his 1993 TV show, Sand Monster Mystery. I spent about 25 minutes trying to translate.
Thank you for doing that for us.
No problem.
And thank you all so much for watching this video. I hope you had fun. Please let us know down in the comments below what your favorite part was. Thanks for joining me today, and I will see you all very soon in the next video. Take care, everybody.
Bye, everybody. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.